Keir Starmer has had a tough year as Prime Minister. Despite winning a stalking majority in the Commons, his approval ratings have cratered. The most recent polls put Labour in a shocking joint third place, tied with the Tories and trailing far behind Reform. For a long time, the consensus was that despite his shortcomings, Starmer wasn't going anywhere. But that sentiment has changed. Labour MPs are now telling Westminster journalists that the situation has become terminal. So, how did they come to this conclusion? And why does Starmer's eventual ousting look increasingly inevitable? Well, we will explain everything to you in this video. So if you've not yet already, subscribe to our channel and ring the bell for upcoming updates. Now before we dive in, a quick caveat. We're not saying Starmer's downfall is imminent. Rather, we're explaining the structural factors that are constantly dragging him down, making it nearly impossible for him to recover. So, let's delve into it. There are three key problems. The first is his budget dilemma. At the last election, Starmer boxed himself in by making two major promises. First, not to raise any major taxes, and second, to follow strict fiscal rules that limit government borrowing. This strategy might have worked if the UK economy had boomed, but it hasn't. The global economy has slowed, and that means every 6 months, when the Office for Budget Responsibility releases a new forecast, the government has to find ways to stick to its own rules. This forces them to either tinker with minor taxes or, more often, cut spending. This is clearly unsustainable. Businesses hate the constant uncertainty, and voters and Labour MPs alike despise the spending cuts. This leaves Starmer with a terrible choice: either desperately hope for an economic miracle or break one of his core campaign promises at the next budget. It seems he's planning to bite the bullet and raise taxes. But breaking a manifesto commitment you repeated hundreds of times is a terrible look, especially when you don't have a good excuse. Blaming Brexit won't work because its economic consequences were well known when he made those promises. This also makes his removal more tempting for Labour MPs, who could let Starmer take the fall for the tax rises, allowing a new leader to reap the rewards of the new fiscal space. The second structural problem is his extreme unpopularity. Now, being a bit unpopular isn't a political death sentence. Starmer's allies point to Margaret Thatcher, whose approval ratings slumped in her first term before she turned things around. The problem with this comparison is that Thatcher was only quite unpopular. Her net approval rating rarely fell below -35. Starmer is in a different league of unpopularity. Most pollsters put his net approval somewhere between -40 and -50. One recent Ipsos poll recorded his satisfaction rating as the lowest for any Prime Minister since 1977. When you become this unpopular, a strange thing happens. Instead of you becoming more popular by doing popular things, a strange thing happens. Instead of you becoming more popular by doing popular things, the things themselves become less popular because of their association with you. We're already seeing this. Take digital ID cards. Before Starmer endorsed the policy, 53% of voters were in favour. After his endorsement, support fell to just 31%, with opposition jumping from 19% to 45%. There comes a point where you are so unpopular that there's simply no way out. The third structural problem is that Starmer lacks a long-term vision to convince Labour MPs and voters that all this political pain is worth it. This is a common complaint from within his own party. If there was some grand project, some light at the end of the tunnel, MPs might be more willing to accept unpopular policies like tax hikes. But without a clear vision, they just don't think the sacrifice is worth it. And like the other two problems, this doesn't seem fixable. Starmer has proved singularly incapable of articulating a grand vision for Britain.